Okay, let's take a moment to look at the map. We've been moving through the Wise Woman Code, really systematically, building this internal architecture piece by piece. And if you've been with us for the first 5 discussions, you know we've covered a significant amount of ground. But looking back, it's all been very, well, cerebral, hasn't it?
It has been, and that is by design, but it's so important to see the progression because nothing in Michelle Rice's manual is accidental.
Right.
If we just review the architecture so far, Chapter 1 established stillness, which gave us awareness.
Yep.
Chapter 2 moved into breath, which created regulation. Chapter 3 was visualization, giving us direction.
Direction.
Chapter 4, language that provided the reinforcement. And then Chapter 5, clearing, was all about discernment and that mental release.
Exactly. So we've quieted the noise, we're breathing correctly, we're watching our words, and we've cleared out the mental clutter. So, ideally, the mind is clear. But this is where it gets really interesting, and honestly, a little frustrating for me anyway. You can do all that mental work, feel totally zen in your head, and then realize your shoulders are still hiked up by your ears.
Exactly. And that brings us right to the pivot point of Part 1, Chapter 6, the body. Specifically, the command to relax your muscles.
Which sounds so simple on the surface, just relax. But knowing Rice, she isn't talking about just putting your feet up or taking a nap, is she?
Not at all. In fact, she opens this section with a very specific quote that frames everything we're about to discuss. It's, once the mind begins to clear, the body can begin to soften.
And begin. It's conditional.
It is conditional. The mission here is not relaxation as an indulgence, or a luxury. It's relaxation as retraining. It is the restoration of embodiment.
I love that distinction because I think for a lot of people, and I'll include myself here, we treat relaxation as a reward. I finished my to-do list, now I get to collapse. But you're saying this is actually a discipline.
It is a discipline, and it's a neurological necessity. Think about that disconnect you just mentioned. Why does the body stay so tight even after the mind has done all that work of clearing thoughts?
Yeah.
You can intellectually decide to let go, but the body has a completely separate memory system.
So the body is holding on to a grudge, basically. Is that it?
In a way. The body holds on to rehearsed stress. This is a concept Rice calls bracing.
Bracing.
Your nervous system encodes repeated stress responses. If you spend years in a state of high alert managing a career, a family, expectations, your body adapts. It learns to armor up.
That makes so much sense. Bracing. It's like you're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, so you stiffen. You're preparing for impact.
Precisely. And Rice identifies specific areas where women in particular tend to hold these subtle bracing patterns, the jaw.
Oh, the jaw.
The shoulders, the hands, and the hips.
I catch myself clenching my jaw when I'm just reading an email. Or driving. It's like I'm trying to bite my way through traffic or something. It's totally unconscious.
And that is the habit of protection. And yes, to answer the question that usually follows, it becomes automatic. It's unconscious. Bracing is a protective mechanism. It's adaptive, meaning it's useful if there is an immediate physical threat.
Right.
If you're in physical danger, you want your hips ready to run and your jaw set. But when that state becomes permanent, it becomes maladaptive.
So we've trained ourselves to be tense. We've essentially been going to the gym for stress and working out those tension muscles every single day.
Correct. The key takeaway here is this. The body remembers what the mind rehearses. If your mind has been rehearsing urgency and pressure for a decade, your muscles have been rehearsing the physical shape of that urgency.
Wow. The body remembers what the mind rehearses. That hits home. So Chapter 6 isn't about a spa day. It's about convincing my nervous system that I'm actually not under attack.
It is a deliberate act of neurological retraining. You are teaching the nervous system that the threat has passed. This is not about trying to chill. It is about restoring the communication lines between the mind, which commands, and the body, which listens.
Okay, so let's get into the how. Because if this is retraining, there has to be a method. I can't just tell my shoulders, hey, knock it off, it doesn't work. Rice introduces a specific technique here, right?
She does. The mechanism for Chapter 6 is progressive muscle relaxation, specifically using the body scan method. But she applies a very specific physiological principle to make it work.
And that is?
The principle of contrast.
For contrast. Why is contrast necessary for relaxation? I don't get that.
Because you cannot fully release a muscle if you do not realize you are holding it.
That is actually profound. Because half the time, I'm tense until my back starts hurting. I'm just walking around like a tightly coiled spring, and I think it's normal.
That's very common. We become desensitized to our own baseline tension. So the method Rice prescribes involves deliberately engaging a muscle group to heighten your awareness of it,
Hmm.
and then releasing it to deepen the let go.
Okay, so I squeeze the muscle first,
Yeah.
like tense it up.
Yes, but this is where the wise woman approach differs from, a standard relaxation technique. It requires precision.
Hmm.
This is not some vague softness. It's neuromuscular retraining.
Yeah.
And the instruction Rice gives is crucial. When you engage the muscle, you do not clench fully.
Ah, okay. So not a full flex. Not like I'm trying to bodybuild.
No, the instruction is to gently contract to only 30 to 40% effort.
30 to 40%. That's
Mm.
really specific. Why not just squeeze it hard so you really feel it? Wouldn't 100% squeeze create more contrast?
It would create a physical contrast, yes, but it sends the wrong signal. A full clench mimics high-impact, acute stress like lifting something heavy or, fighting.
Right.
What we are trying to address here is the subtle, low-grade stress we carry all day. By consciously recreating that specific level of tension, that 30 to 40% background static, and then releasing it, we expose the unconscious habit.
That is fascinating. So we are basically simulating our normal state of stress, that low hum of anxiety, acknowledging it, and then choosing to turn it off.
Exactly. You are replicating the brace consciously, so you can then dismantle it consciously. Awareness creates choice.
Right.
You cannot release what you do not feel. Contrast reveals the unconscious holding. Once it's revealed, you have the choice to release. And this reinforces the hierarchy we've been building since chapter 1. The mind leads. The body follows.
It really does feel like this chapter is the puzzle piece that just locks everything else together. It connects the brain to the biology.
It is the completion of the feedback loop for part 1. If we zoom out, you can see the architecture so clearly. This is layered regulation.
Walk us through that loop. How does the muscle relaxation feed back into all the other stuff we've already covered?
Well, think about it physiologically. It's a chain reaction. As the muscles soften, your ribcage can expand, and the breath naturally steadies, which reinforces chapter 2.
Okay, yeah.
As the breath steadies, the nervous system downregulates, and the mind quiets, further reinforcing chapter 1. As the mind quiets, your mental clarity deepens, which reinforces chapter 5.
It prevents that floating head syndrome. You know what I mean? Where you're trying to be all wise and calm intellectually, but your body is secretly in fight or flight mode.
You cannot be fully aligned, what Rice calls the clear zone,
Yeah.
if the body is bracing against invisible enemies. You might be mentally disciplined, you might be visualizing your goals perfectly, but if your physiology is signaling danger, you're divided. Alignment requires the body.
Alignment requires the body. I think that's the part we so often skip. We try to think our way into peace. We try to intellectualize safety.
And you cannot think your way out of a physiological response. You have to embody the safety. You have to speak the language the body understands, which is sensation and release.
So let's get practical. How do we actually do this? Rice lays out a very specific wise woman practice for this chapter. And knowing this book, I'm guessing the sequence is really important.
The sequence is critical. And again, this practice is designed to integrate everything that came before it. So
Yeah.
you begin in a supported position, sitting or lying down, but you don't start with the muscles. The first step is integration.
Right, calling on the previous tools, loading up the software before you run the program.
Correct. You establish stillness from chapter 1. Then you take 2 slow diaphragmatic breaths from chapter 2, lengthening the exhale. You maintain that steady internal tone from chapter 4, and you release any immediate mental tension, which is chapter 5.
So you're setting the stage. You're creating the container.
You are priming the system. Then you begin the body scan. The flow moves slowly from head to toe.
And this uses that 30 to 40% rule we talked about.
Yes, the cycle is simple but precise. First, you bring your attention to a specific group, let's say the eyes and forehead. On the inhale, you gently tighten that area to about 30 or 40% effort.
Just a little squeeze, like a small grimace.
A subtle engagement, just enough to feel the tension that is likely already there. Then on the exhale, you fully release and soften, and you repeat this 1 to 3 times per area.
And the route, where do you go from there?
You move down, eyes and forehead first. Then the jaw and neck, a major holding spot for so many. Then shoulders and arms, chest and abdomen, hips and thighs, and finally, legs, feet, and toes.
Moving through the jaw and neck. That seems particularly important given what we said earlier about holding back words.
Indeed. The jaw is often where we hold the things we wanted to say but didn't. Releasing that area isn't just physical, it's often emotional.
And how long does this take? Because I know people are going to say, I just don't have time to lie on the floor for an hour.
And Rice is very clear on this. The entire practice should take about 5 to 10 minutes, and you end with one full body breath, and you just return to stillness.
That's it, 5 to 10 minutes.
Rice emphasizes that consistency matters far more than duration. You're retraining a lifelong habit. Doing this for 5 minutes every single day is much more effective than doing it for an hour once a month.
It's like
Right.
it's like physical therapy for your stress response.
Hmm.
You can't just do PT once and expect to be fixed.
That is a very accurate analogy. You're sending a daily signal to your nervous system that says, it is safe to let go now.
You know, what really stands out to me here is this idea of authority. We talk a lot about having authority over our schedules or our teams, but this is authority over our own physiology.
Authority includes the body. That is a critical insight. Protection is adaptive, but release is learned. The wise woman does not just think clearly. She lives in a body that is safe enough to soften.
Safe enough to soften. That's a really powerful reframing, because usually we equate softening with weakness. Oh, don't go soft on me. But here, softening is actually proof of safety. It's proof of strength.
It is the ultimate proof of regulation. If you can command your body to drop its armor, you are in control. If you cannot, the armor is controlling you.
Oof. Okay, that is a mic drop moment right there. If you can't drop the armor is controlling you.
Which really raises the question of what we're bracing against in the first place.
Which leads us perfectly to the reflection for this chapter. Rice always leaves us with something to chew on. What's the question for chapter 6?
The reflection question she asks the reader to carry with them is this: where in my body am I holding tension that no longer protects me?
That no longer protects me. That implies it did protect me at some point.
It validates the body's effort. It acknowledges that the tension was likely a response to a real stressor, but the question asks you to discern, is that stressor still here? Or am I holding on to the shield long after the battle is over?
It's like checking the expiration date on your stress. Am I bracing for a fight that happened 3 years ago?
Precisely.
Well, this has been, pun intended, a tension reliever of a conversation. It's amazing how much clearer the whole picture gets when you bring the body into it. It really does feel like we've finished the foundation now.
We have. This practice integrates everything that came before it to prepare us for what comes next. The mind is clear, the breath is regulated, and now the body is available.
Ready for whatever the spirit has to say.
Indeed.
Before we go, I just want to leave everyone with a thought. If softening is actually a skill and not just something that happens by accident, what would your day look like if you treated relaxation as a workout? Not something you skip when you're busy, but the training that actually makes you capable of handling the busyness. Just something to think about.
A vital shift in perspective.
Thanks for joining us for this chapter. We'll see you for the next step.
Until then.